We are sending data. Apparently we're streaming on Twitch already. Fantastico. Fantastico. TikTok live monitor. That's new. Let's see what that does. Open in the new window. Bring it over here. What if I can log in with email or username? Excuse me. Oh, that's not what I want. Hello, anyone who's shown up so far. Remember, if you are seeing this, fast forward that to 00:00, and that is when we start our story. Until then, it's just jibber jab, man. Michael Moore, how you doing, buddy? Recluse Mage in the house. Good to see everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you. Log into TikTok. I don't know how to do it now, do I? Oh, there we go. Gosh darn it. Google refuses to cooperate. So I think I'm streaming to TikTok now, but I'm not entirely sure. Nope, offline. Well, they're all reading offline, but clearly we are online. Hello, everybody on YouTube. Bunch of YouTubers in the house. What's going on, everybody? And now my chat crapped out. All right, guys, let me get this backup chat here. The chit to the chat. Steve Rickyberg, D79. You know what? I will not do dueling banjos with John Scalzi because they do call him John Six Fingers Scalzi. It's fact. But I will play bass while John Scalzi twiddles away on the banjo or the mandolin. Yeah, he's a mandolin player. I remember from way back when. I think he got one. Dude's got nothing but time on his hands. Doesn't write anymore. He really does. He writes a lot. Plus, he bought a church, which is pretty friggin' dope. I'm not going to lie, I'm super jealous about John Scalzi buying an old church. That is like been a life goal of mine for a long time. Hello, Cobalt. Hello, Pam. Pam just finished last week's episode. That is perfect timing. That is great. I'm going to quit this chat messenger here. Scott Pond. Don't you talk to us about being sexy, Scott Pond. You cornered the market on sexy a long time ago. A long time ago, a guy named Scott Pond blew into town. We called him the Stranger, but that didn't last long. He set up shop at the barbershop, started up a barbershop quartet. John Scalzi has a 3-neck guitar too. I do not have any double neck basses because I'm already a relatively small human. And if you add a whole extra weight class onto a bass, even if it's another guitar neck, it's going to cause some stooping and probably a herniated disc somewhere. But I have looked very carefully. At one point, I was eyeing a Rickenbacker guitar / bass like Geddy Lee. Did not get it. Sean Dyerhouse, Dr. Peril in the house. How you doing? What's up, girl? What's up, girl? What up, Dr. Daniel Baker, PhD? Dawn Shipley. Oh, my gosh. I'll tell you what, you guys. It's been a long, long day. It's been a long time coming to get where I'm going today. It's good to see you all. Let's see. Let's get chat up there. We have a new advertiser, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and pimp that shit out for just a minute. Remember, if you just got here, you don't want to hear the jibber jab, fast forward to 00:00, and you will be transported into a world of sophomoric guttural humor and probably a little bit too much violence and also some substance abuse. But that's beside the point. This, my friends. Oh, I can't keep the timer going when I do this. All right, cool. We're going to do it anyways. This, my friends, this is my new shirt from Quince, QUINCE.com. Let's see if this works. Nope, go back to Maine. I haven't quite got things figured out yet. Maine, Quince. Gosh darn ya. There it is. Quince.com/ with Valentine's Day coming up. It is a great place to get high quality clothes at not such a high, crazy price. They got all kinds of good stuff. This cashmere sweater, which keeps me toasty up in this room. It does get friggin' freezing in here when you sit in your butt and lose track of time for hours on end. And because of whatever, the hyper focus, all I know is I'll be writing. Then the sun is set. I'm freezing and I have to pee extraordinarily bad. Really, really, really bad. But we'll give you a quick look over here. They've got all kinds of little offers popping up. You want to go to quince.com/Sigler. You got stuff for the ladies, all kinds of sweatshirts and stuff like that. $50 for a Mongolian cashmere crew neck. Now, I don't know prices a lot. That seems pretty good to me. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. There you go. And they are advertising now over at Realm, and I have to figure out. Here we go. And now for you men folk. Let's go ahead and go to bestsellers. Men folks. Just real simple, nice stuff. And if you go to quince.com/Sigler, guess what, people? You get 365-day, no argument returns, and free shipping. It's great. Very simple. I like it a lot. Boom. Let's go back to the opening. A little bit scattered. This is the first stream we've done since we evacuated last week. So we're going to be talking about that evacuation after the story read, and also what's in our bug out bag, and what we did to prepare, what we have now changed to prepare for the next time we have to evac, and a bunch of other stuff too. Abe kind of runs the show on all of that. She's extremely organized, really knows what the hell she's doing. And I'm not bad at it, but you know, my attention to detail, there's a lot of squirrels in our garage, squirrel infestation. It's crazy. Rob, I did evacuate my bowels. As soon as that fire warning came up on my phone, I was just like, and so I had to clean up on aisle 1. We've got a bio on aisle 1. Let's see. We're going to get to housekeeping after. Remember, if you don't want to hear me jibber jab, you can fast forward to 00s and you will hear Slay episode 81, Stray Rat Strut. That is not a mispronunciation. You will find out why. YouTubers, all you people on YouTube, click like now, do it. Click subscribe if you haven't done it already, and click the bell, because that's what all the, smash like, subscribe, and tickle the bell. Just tickle the bells a little bit. There you go. We have now, see, I can't, if I'm not cool enough to remember smash like, I'm going to put my own spin on tickle the bells. Let's see what we got here. After the episode, we're going to talk about our deep cuts. It is going to be great. Oh, by the way, also with quince.com coming up, Valentine's Day, February 4th. Ladies, gentlemen, don't forget your Valentine's Day. Get something. I will say I haven't got anything for A yet because I didn't realize it was almost Valentine's Day. Oh, sorry. 2/14 is Valentine's Day. Quince's shipping deadline for Valentine's Day is 2/4. That's coming up right around the corner. Cobalt's bug out bags keep getting bigger. Perhaps you need some form of evacuation yourself, sir. Rob, was that a good enough dirty joke? Rob's the master of dirty jokes. That's right, D7. I remember to feed the algorithm. There's a lot of stuff. We've been doing this for 4-5 years now, and I still just am so busy with writing and the other stuff that I haven't been able to put in the time it takes to study what I should be doing as a live streamer, and then also implementing what I should be doing as a live streamer. Rob in the chat room, Stray Rat Strut. He's a ladies' rat. A whiskered Casanova, that's where it's at. I'm sure that sounds better as a song. Scrolling back through the chats, what did I miss? Rob Otto was in a barbershop quartet in Skokie, Illinois. That is a fact. That is a fact. And then back to Abby. All right, everybody, let's see how we're doing over here in channel side. It's actually, I gotta admit, with all the gear on, this cashmere sweater that's kept me nice and toasty all day is now getting a little smoky, a little steamy up in here. So I might lose that. I might lose it before we get rolling. Oddly enough, let's see, we got a bunch of people on YouTube. Facebook apparently seems to be throttling me again because that's what Facebook does. Find ways to screw their users. Hello, everybody on Twitch. How are you doing? You know, strangely enough, no viewers on LinkedIn, you guys. Really, I got to start talking about best of breed and business practices and, you know, efficiencies and economies of scale and B2B talk, hashtag B2B talk and all that other stuff. Hold on. Why not now? Now. Where now? Now. That's all you're going to get. Once we go to make Michael Moore, I started the Stainless Steel Rat series, and I think I didn't even make it 50 pages in. I'm like, this is just not for me. It wasn't my cup of tea. Other famous books that have hit that parameter. Twilight's a big one. Twilight I made it 50 pages in. I'm like, I can tell this is good. This is not for me. So it's every now and then you find some stuff that is not for you. Right now, the thing that is for me is Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. Clues Mage, you're not going to get the full on strip chat. Not going to happen to you. Okay, let's go to main. And let's get that timer off and we'll get into it. Voice a little rough today, but what are you going to do? This is a Christmas present from my friends Maria and Steven. And Kraken's Orange. Jonesy, surviving 9 lives. I can't read it backward. I'm a little lost. Nostromo. A real girl in the house. Okay. You know what, guys? I do love Dungeon Crawler Carl. Hey, can you make a note? We got to get Matt Dinneman on here. Matt Dinneman's met him once at a con. Happened to be the day that one of his books was the #1 overall book, all categories on Amazon. And he was gobsmacked and delighted. It was super fun. Very, very nice guy. I dig him. We got to get him on the show. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble. I move the chat aside so you guys cannot distract me. I go to here. We are recording. Great. Let's rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Previously on Slay. Lincoln is mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore. Okay, he will take it from Callista. Because he has no other option, but someone, somewhere, sometime, has to pay. And he is on his way to Ariella's. Billy feels he needs magical training. Real magical training. If he is to survive what seems to be an inevitable tilt against the mage Vestinian. Magda and Lincoln won't let meshwork masters come to the church to train Billy, and they won't let Billy seek out training. So he's taken matters into his own hands. He has slipped away from the old stone church and is in the magical city of Cordis. Does he have a new master? And what about Lincoln's family? Last season, Sister Sophia and Brother Lukas took big damage helping Lincoln go up against Teddy Two Fingers. And Lincoln's father, Jacoby, remains in Sunset House Old Folks' Home. With Lincoln spending most of his time chasing bounties, what's going on with them? Find out next on Slay, episode 81. Nighttime in Cordis. And to think he'd once considered where he grew up to be a tough neighborhood. Growing up in Tollingwood hadn't been fun. Not in the least. Bullies, druggies, pimps, gangsters, thugs. You had to watch your ass. But know what T-Wood didn't have? Orcs. T-Wood did not have orcs, or Thuengols, or trolls, or Valkyrin, or Kappa, or troglodytes, or wolfmen, or chimeras, or whatever the hell those tall things were that looked like they were made of freaking rock salt, or the orange lizard dudes wearing turbans, and so on. Billy walked along the winding medieval streets. Cold out. He huddled in a cheap robe that covered his armor, weapons, and his head. No sidewalks here. The warped cobblestones ran right up to tall wood and clay tenements. Oil lamps hung from poles, casting sparse circles of light. Billy could sense the filament inside them. Maybe they burned forever. He didn't know. He stepped around garbage-laden puddles and over the homeless people and the homeless not people. They were probably strung out on Nurple, or gobbers, or booze. Maybe the normal kind, maybe the magical kind, like that Nini Link drank with Peanut. When Billy went to Cordis with Lincoln, apparently, they hadn't visited the bad side of town. The area around the Bastion, which included the clearinghouse and the big nasties that led down to Teddy Two Fingers' lair, now seemed like a children's park compared to this area. This neighborhood had a name: Favela Land. From the favelas of ancient Carthage, Billy had learned, not the slums of Brazil. Although there probably wasn't much difference between them other than being separated by a few centuries. In some ways, he supposed, cities were the same wherever you went. He wasn't the only one out walking. Tough-looking characters all over the place. Most people carried at least one weapon in plain sight, as a warning more than a threat. Billy was in the right area, but he couldn't find the street he needed. He kept moving, kept his head down. No eye contact. That was the trick. Make yourself small. That used to be easier to do when he'd actually been small, but the old instincts had not abandoned him. In the distance, Billy heard a scream. Then, a gunshot. Then, a roar of some kind. Whatever made that sound, it was big. He wished he'd brought Dragon. Billy stopped at a corner, looked at the symbols written on the building. It was like the pictures he'd seen of Paris, with street names right on the walls, except instead of French, here the names were in the angles and slashes of cuneiform. He needed to learn to read that language, especially if he was going to keep coming to Cordis. He'd learned enough, though, to find his way wherever he needed to go. He sounded out the forms. Where, for God, got stabbed, Lane. Yes, this was the street. It was hard to tell one clay tenement from another, but he now recognized the building from the last time he had come. Billy didn't know who Fracad was, but a long time ago, the guy had apparently fucked around and found out. Cities were the same wherever you went. Hey, big boy, you want to go for a ride? Billy looked across the street. There, under an oil lamp, stood a brown fur-covered woman. He assumed it was a woman because of the skimpy red dress that barely held back 4 huge fur-covered tits. Big triangular head, also covered in brown fur, a curved horn sticking out each side. Golden rings dangled from furry ears. She wore bright red lipstick. And were those fake eyelashes? Sorry, what? A ride, the woman said. Hop on and Bootsy will take you to heaven. She touched a cloven hoof painted with red nail polish against her lips, blew him a kiss. I'm Bootsy, Big Daddy. 5 silver is all it takes. A working girl. Yep, cities were all the same. Well, not the same. In Lumencia, Billy had never seen Ma'am, excuse me, are you a buffalo? You think I look like some skanky buffalo? I am a bison. But I bet all Bovidae look the same to you. Ain't that right, you racist piece of shit? You go get your freak on somewhere else. She pivoted in a sassy turn, let out a and clonked down the street, waggling her buffalo-sized butt, or rather, her bison-sized butt, as she walked away. Billy headed down where Fracad got stabbed lane. More of an alley than a road. He remembered it now. The building he needed was up ahead, on the right. He had to cram in a lesson as quick as he could, then get back up to the surface before Link or Magda found his vine doppelganger. If they did, Billy didn't know if, hey, Flatface. Billy stopped suddenly. 3 guys stood in the street, all about 6 feet tall. They had the faces of rats, long and pointy, complete with sharp little teeth and whiskers. They wore denim jackets with torn-off sleeves. The one in the middle held a thick, dangling chain. The other two tapped wooden clubs against their palms. "We saw you here last week, bitch," the one with the chain said. "Scraggle and the Amaluger Angels run these streets." This did not look good. Who are the Amaluger Angels?" asked Billy. The one with the chain elbowed the guy on the right. "Rickett, show him." That rat man, Rickett, presumably, turned so Billy could see his back. On his denim vest were stitched the letters Amalugar Angels, curved down atop a patch of a black cat with white X's over its eyes. "We're the Angels, bitch," the one in the middle said. "I'm Scraggle." God damn it. A fucking gang. "Look, man," Billy said, "I don't want no trouble. I'd rather not square off a bunch of, are you guys like were-rats or something?" All three stiffened, their rat eyes narrowing in anger. "We ain't fucking metamorphs, bitch," Scraggle said. "We're Amalugar. You insulted us. Now you gotta pay." This was the last thing Billy needed. He wasn't supposed to be in Cordis at all, and he certainly wasn't supposed to use his power here, lest Vestinian catch wind of it. 3-on-1? Maybe it was best to get the hell out of here and train some other time. "My bad," Billy said. "I didn't know this was y'all's street. That's it." Billy turned to walk back up the lane, saw three more denim-wearing rat men standing at the intersection, blocking his way out. One held an aluminum baseball bat. The other two held knives. "Don't matter that you didn't know," said Scraggle behind him. "You strip off everything you got and we'll let you go, bitch." Billy had been beaten up enough times by Butch and the Rolling Outlaws back in T-Wood to know exactly how this would go down. He wasn't getting out of here without a fight. But maybe he wanted a fight. All that training with Link. What was the point of being a badass if you're going to let assholes push you around? Billy Middleton had been pushed around enough for one lifetime. He straightened, stood to his full 6'3" height. He turned to face Scraggle. "I ain't giving you shit." Billy took off his robe, tossed it aside. His white armor almost glowed in the dim street light. "Just walk away." Scraggle's whiskers quivered. "That's pretty armor. I think we'll beat your ass and take it, bitch." Billy breathed deep, dropped into a fighting stance. "Remember," he said, "you wanted this." Scraggle let out a squeak that was probably supposed to be an intimidating yell. He rushed forward, his two club-wielding thugs at his sides. Billy listened to the sound of the steps behind him as he launched forward. Scraggle reached back to deliver a whipping strike with a chain, but Billy's push kick landed before the chain came forward. Boot heel met pointy nose, snapping the rat's head back. Scraggle dropped onto the cobblestones. A club swung at Billy's face. He squatted, ducking it. As the wood whipped over his head, he delivered a short, powerful punch to the attacker's ribs. Felt bones beneath the denim crack. Billy sensed more than saw the next club coming. He threw an elbow backward, felt the painful satisfaction of it connecting with a cheekbone. Billy moved down the alley, away from the oncoming attackers, turning and drawing his machete with his right hand as he did. 3 attackers down, 3 running in, all in front of him now. A knife stab for his face. He parried it, drove a left jab into the attacker's eye, dropping him. But too late, he saw the next knife slashing for his ribs. The blade hit white armor and snapped in half. Billy kneed that attacker and his furry little rat nuts. The force of the blow lifting the guy clean off the ground in a squeal of surprised pain. The baseball bat cracked against Billy's left temple. The world blurred. A hard hit, but nothing close to what Link dished out in sparring. Billy knew how to move, how to gain distance for the brief moments he needed to recover. The bat swung in again, but this time he was ready. A sharp, powerful slash of the machete hit just above the rat man's hands. The blade dug into metal. The bat's momentum did the rest. The bat snapped in half, the heavier end spinning forward to chip a chunk out of a clay wall. As fast could be, Billy raised his foot, drove it down at an angle, just like he had done with Butch back at the old stone church. And, just like back then, the attacker's knee bent the wrong way, with a snap of bone and a stunned howl of pain. The rat man dropped, squealing, clutching at his knee. 6 up, 6 down. Well, how about that? All the training, all the discipline, all the pure agony tore through Billy's body, pulled a scream from his lungs. He fell hard to the cobblestones, trembling. Scraggle stood there, blood pouring from his long nose, the chain in his hands, only now the metal links glowed a sickly orange sherbet shade. He whipped the chain back, then up, then down. The links smacked into Billy, again igniting his innards with scorching pain. "Boys, get up," Scraggle said, his words nasally and tight. "Time for us to start cutting this, bitch." The rat men slowly got to their feet, clutching their various injuries. Except for the guy Billy had kneed in the nuts, that one lay in a fetal position, vomiting. And the one whose knee now bent the wrong way, who lay there whimpering. Billy tried to rise. Scraggle stepped closer, wrapped the torturous chain around Billy's neck. Every cell of Billy's body screamed for mercy. "You should have given us the goods, bitch," Scraggle said. "Now I'm going to carve my initials in your flat fucking face." A stiff wind suddenly blew through the alley, rattling denim jackets, driving trash down the street. A lightning bolt cracked next to Billy, made a broken cobblestone pop into 100 spinning pieces. "Oh, fuck," one of the rat men said. "It's the witch." Billy felt the glorious relief of the chain sliding free of his neck, but he could barely move. Lying on the street, he saw the rat men fleeing. The one with the broken knee, hopping as best he could. The one who'd been puking, crawling to his feet and stumbling after his friends. Billy tried to sit up. His body wouldn't let him. Another lightning bolt flared. Jerking electric blue touched the street, but this one didn't vanish. It stayed there, wavering and shimmering with pure power. From high up, a person slid down, one hand gripped around the lightning bolt as if it were a fireman's pole. Kung fu clothing, wooden shoes. A wide, circular straw hat on the tip-down head hid the person's face. The elemental touched down right next to Billy, little crackles of electricity splashing out like water from a puddle. The wide hat tipped up. Thick, white hair. Dark brown eyes stared down. "Hello, Walt," Morganstone said. "You're late." Muzak played from the lobby's hidden speakers. A watered-down rendition of Puccini's Nessun Dorma. Quite a step up from the last time Sophia had visited Sunset House, where an instrumental version of some pop crap from 2 decades earlier made her want to find those speakers and put her fist through them. Now, though, She wanted to put her fist through something else. The chest of the man sitting behind the reception desk. "There's booze in my father's room, Lloyd," Sophia said, "in a plastic bottle of Sprite." Wide-eyed Lloyd Neely leaned back in his chair. Leaned back slowly, as if Sophia might turn into a snake and bite him if he moved too fast. The one hidden behind the nightstand? The guy was a worm. What kind of person took money under the table to provide extra services for a feeble old man? "Bingo," Sophia said. "Are there other bottles, Lloyd? You should tell me now, because if you don't, and I find one, I will be unhappy. If I'm unhappy, you're unhappy. Get me?" Lloyd nodded. "Yeah, I can explain." He slowly reached to a desk drawer, opened it, pulled out a half-empty liquor bottle. He set it on the desktop. Cork stopper, silver label with black letters that read Kentucky 74. "It's non-alcoholic," he said. "Your brother left it. Jacoby thinks he's getting away with sneaking drinks." Sophia picked up the bottle, looked at it. "Non-alcoholic?" Lloyd nodded. "Tastes like crap, but your father doesn't seem to notice." Well, that was clever. Clever enough that it probably wasn't Lincoln's idea. Maybe Ariella Goldsmith thought of it. She seemed to run things these days. Sophia handed the bottle back to Lloyd. "I see," she said, trying to sound as if she didn't feel like an ass for assuming the worst, for intimidating him. "Is there anything else my father needs?" Lloyd shook his head. "No." He put the bottle back in the drawer. "Your brother has provided, ample motivation for me to make sure Jacoby has whatever he wants. Within reason, of course." Ample motivation. Lincoln not only covered Dad's room and care here, he greased the wheels by paying Lloyd an extra monthly fee. "This music was Lincoln's idea," Lloyd said. "He told me your dad digs this old stuff." Jacoby adored classical music. It was all the family had listened to when Lincoln and Sophia had been kids. "He loves it," Sophia said. "Has my brother been visiting?" "Not much as of late." That tracked. From what Sophia gathered, Lincoln was burning the midnight oil, collecting bounties. And speaking of burning the midnight oil, "I appreciate you coming in this late to let us visit my dad," Sophia said. 3 a.m. Crazy hours. Lloyd sensed he was no longer in trouble. He relaxed. He smiled. "No problem. You can call me anytime and I'll be here. Your brother insists that's part of the deal." Sophia wondered how much her brother was paying Lloyd now. Probably more than before. She wished she could help out with the expense, take some of the burden off her brother, but the Bastion's vow of poverty wasn't exactly optional. "Thanks again," she said. She walked back to her father's room, newly conscious of her brown polyester skirt and brown leggings, her long-sleeve white shirt and brown tie. Simple clothing. Cheap clothing. The vow of poverty meant she wore what the Bastion gave her to wear. Not that she wanted fancier clothes. She rarely wore anything other than her armor and her between cloak, and that suited her just fine. The Franks were a family of night owls. Jacoby was wide awake, in his wheelchair with a blanket over his ruined legs, gesticulating as he talked to Lukas, who sat on a chair in rapt attention. Lukas's clothing matched Sophia's, although his was large enough to suit his 6'4", 250-pound frame, and he wore pants instead of a skirt. To the purblind up here on the surface, Sophia knew she and Lukas looked like missionaries of some sort. "Everyone was there," Jacoby said. "Every Rixator, Adjurator, and monk. every quester and villicus, all the eminent figures from Cordis, and dignitaries from across the patchwork as well. Thousands of people. They filled the ceremonial circle. He was telling the story of Auntie Juanita's confirmation as Clostator. Again. That's amazing, Dad, Lukas said. It must have been awesome. Lukas didn't mind hearing the same stories over and over again. He wasn't pretending to be a good son. He loved Dad's tales of the old days. As large as Lukas had become, and as focused, and as mean. When he was around Dad, he looked like a wide-eyed little kid in a grown man's body. Jacoby's long, thin, silver hair was pulled back behind his ears. That and the rare gleam in his eyes were a sign of him having a good day, an alert day. Sophia had inherited his hair, although hers was shorter, thicker, and a bit darker. Lincoln and Lukas had Mom's dark locks. Lincoln and Lukas had Mom's ebony locks. All the children, though, shared their father's steel gray eyes. It was glorious! Jacoby spread his wrinkled, knobby fingers, as if setting the scene. Fiachna on my shoulder, feathers gleaming like black glass. Draskiljan at my side. He turned his fingers up, as if holding something between them. Korachar's pauldrons in my hands. In my hands. The same description, almost word for word, every time. Fiachna, Jacoby's raven familiar, a once disciplined bird all but ruined by Lincoln's lack of discipline. Draskiljan, Jacoby's famed longsword. Korachar's pauldrons, the Clostator's badge of office. As the world watched, I placed the pauldrons upon Juanita's shoulders, Jacoby said, his voice trembling with excitement. The Closta Secundo became the Clostator. No one deserved the title more than she. Juanita earned the right a long time ago, that fateful day in the Jorogumo nest. He looked at his own hands as if seeing them anew. The bright intensity faded from his eyes. As Sophia watched, the man he'd once been faded back into the past. The confused, angry man he now was settled in. Every time that happened, it cut her. It cut her deep. Anyway, he said. Anyway. When he said nothing more, Lukas leaned forward, put his hand on Jacoby's knee. Dad, you never told us what happened in that nest. What did you and Auntie Juanita do there? Sophia wanted to punch her brother in the ear. The father she had known, the man who had raised her to be a warrior, shrank further into himself. I don't like to talk about that day. A small voice, a weak voice. Jacoby looked up at Sophia. How's my Socius? Is she still sick? Socius, his fighting partner. As Sophia and Lukas were, as Lincoln and Magda used to be. Juanita had been an adjurator, a powerful elemental with deep cold as her loom. While she still had her wits about her body, too, had succumbed to old age. Time, the one monster that could not be defeated. She's getting worse, Dad, Sophia said, choosing not to lie to her father because telling him the truth was the right thing to do. She's still our Clostator, though, working hard. She believes she might last another year before she has to give it up. Jacoby nodded. His hair slipped from behind his ears, hung in front of his face, completing the old man mask that hid Sophia's father away. Basil Beverly would be the next Clostator, Lukas said. His Socius is Rochelle Collar. She was my Socius when Sophia was... Lukas trailed off, mouthing the word darn it with a downward snap of his head. While I was suspended, Dad, Sophia said, I got 3 months in the kitchen for helping Lincoln go after the fucker who kidnapped Sam. Lukas's eyes went wide, as if he couldn't believe she had told their father about her punishment. Jacoby, though, laughed. Suspended. You scoundrel, you. I can't count the number of times I got potato patrol. Juanita, too, and Halvor. I swear we 3 must have mopped the dining hall 1,000 times. Sophia and Lukas exchanged a glance. Halvor Amdahl. He had been close with Jacoby and Auntie Juanita when they had been young, and he had something to do with what went down at the Jorogumo nest. Dad rarely mentioned him. When asked, Sophia wouldn't speak of Halvor at all, nor would she discuss the nest. Whatever happened that day, it changed many lives. Little Sam, Jacoby said, unfocused steel-gray eyes peering through his curtain of silver hair. When can he come visit his grandfather? Another kick in the heart. They had told Jacoby about the effort to capture Teddy Two Fingers. They had told him Teddy was now catatonic, his mind turned to mush by Kelly Stroman's daughter. They had told him Sam was still trapped on the shelf and there was nothing anyone could do to get him out. Some things Jacoby remembered, some things he did not. Soon, Dad, Sophia said, choosing to lie to her father because sometimes telling the truth was the wrong thing to do. Sam's going to visit you soon. Lukas forced a smile, gave Jacoby's knee a light squeeze and a quick shake. Basil remembers you, Dad. He believes in the prophecy. He thinks I might someday destroy the Unweaver. That brought a bit of light back into Jacoby's eyes and also filled Sophia with anger. Not at her little brother, but at Basil Beverly and Rochelle Collar for filling Lukas's head with thoughts of that crazy myth. For fueling Lukas's sibling rivalry with Lincoln that only Lukas was a part of. Well, how about that? Jacoby smiled. My son, fighting the Unweaver? We can only dream of such glory. And anger at her father, too, because he'd been the first to fill Lukas's head with the Mors Mundi prophecy. And Lincoln's head, and Sophia's head. The prophecy, Jacoby's lifelong obsession, the thing that made him perpetually distant from his children, from his wife. I'll fulfill our family's promise, Dad, Lukas said. Where Lincoln failed you, I will not. Lincoln failed? That wasn't something Lukas picked up from Jacoby. Sophia knew those words must be Basil's words. Basil. If he kept messing with the Franks family, Sophia would put him down. Callista Secundo or not, Claustator or not, she would make that man pay. Come on, Lukas, she said. We have to get out on patrol. Sorry, Dad, there might be a vampire in Kendrick Heights. Jacoby patted Lukas's hands. Go on, son. You and your sister do your duty. Make your father proud. Lukas reached behind his chair, grabbed his silver-handled cane. He stood and walked to the door. He had shattered his leg in Teddy's lair, so badly it still wasn't 100% despite months of work from the Bastion's healers. Lukas headed down the hall. Jacoby looked up at Sophia. When can Lincoln bring my grandson for a visit? He'd forgotten again. Soon, Dad, Sophia said. Soon. I love you. She bent, kissed his forehead. She shut the door behind her, but not quite all the way. She peeked through the crack, saw Jacoby roll his wheelchair to the nightstand. He reached behind it, retrieved the Sprite bottle Sophia had spotted earlier. Some things Jacoby forgot, some things He did not. She quietly shut the door. Time to patrol. She hoped they found that vampire, because she wanted to hit something really, really hard. Lincoln stood atop the flat roof of Ariella's brownstone. Between cloak tight around his shoulders, haze of Cimmeral hiding him from those who might look, he tried to think. He couldn't shake his anger, the simmering sense of failure that stirred his rage. Rage that made it hard to concentrate, rage that made him want to break something. Someone had to pay. He was a man who solved problems with his fists, solved them with steel. Except those things didn't really seem to solve anything anymore. Lincoln sensed no meshwork atop his third-story roof. Lincoln sensed no meshwork atop this third-story roof. No surprise. He'd been here before. Quiet, purblind neighborhood. No magic, just rich assholes. No cockeyes watching from afar. No cradlebats buzzing the night skies. He had sent Shitbird home. The crow didn't need to see this. "Descendat," he said, and stepped off the roof. The spell slowed his fall, stopped him from plummeting like a rock. He didn't drop far, just a few feet, to the brownstone's leftmost third-story window. Ariella's window. A few cars driving along the street below, but Lincoln didn't worry about them. He didn't worry about any insomniacs across the street who might restlessly look his way. With the cloak and the mask, he was nothing more than a shadow against stone. The haze let him see the tension knots across Ariella's window. Twisting, writhing, living bands, invisible to the purblind, and to most enlightened as well. Ariella was cautious, as she should be. Meshwork security, the knots made from filaments like paranoia and distrust, would alert her to anyone trying to get in. Anyone who didn't know how to undo them, anyway. "Inodare," Lincoln said. The meshwork knots pulled apart like rubber bands snapping in slow motion. The contracted, ragged ends floated lazily. The physical lock was nothing to him. He burned a little mesh from a charm fastened to his combat webbing. Inside the window, the lock swung back. Silently, he opened the window. He slid inside. He closed the window. He locked the lock. "Ad normalum," he said. Just outside the glass, the knots reconnected, became as they had been moments earlier. In the dark silence of Ariella's study, Lincoln reached into his cloak's endless folds. He drew forth the ancient bronze knife he had taken from Meredith. Meshwork. Old meshwork. Very powerful. This weapon would shred any normal armor. It would pierce meshwork protection, punch through mystical shields. He wondered how many lives this blade had taken over the centuries. And he wondered how many more it would claim. Someone, somewhere, had to pay. Books, some new, some used, some ancient, lined the shelves. Not so long ago, books on these very shelves had come to life and tried to kill Lincoln. Which was fair. He had come to kill Ariella, after all. If he had done that, if he had used Bastard Maker to split her skull open, would things have wound up different? Would Sam still be trapped? He didn't know. Lincoln heard an old doorknob turn, heard an old door open, heard the flick of an old light switch. The room filled with light. There, in the doorway, stood Ariella Goldsmith. Black silk nightie, her stylish hair askew. She stared at the knife. Is that for me? Lincoln looked at the blade. So dangerous, so deadly. Someone, somewhere, sometime had to pay, but that time was not now. He flipped the blade in his hand, offered her the pommel. Just like you asked, he said. Ariella walked the short distance to him, her nightie sliding across her smooth thighs with each step. She took the blade, examined it. She smiled. Well done, Lincoln. Now turn off that mask. He had forgotten it was on. Detego. The haze of Cimmeral fizzed away. You going to tell me what that blade is for? She shook her head. No, not until I'm sure it does what I think it does. He had heard that phrase before. Sometimes the objects he retrieved for her didn't do what she hoped, and she didn't tell him what they were supposed to do. Sometimes, though, the objects did work. Magda's ear cuff, the medallion that let Lincoln see his son. A mystical ball for Dragon to chase that reappeared in the same place after it went missing for a few hours because she constantly lost her toys somewhere in the old stone church. Ariella turned on one heel. She walked to a bookshelf, placed the knife next to a plain copper circlet Lincoln had retrieved for her a month ago. He still didn't know what the circlet did. She had wanted it. He had gotten it for her. Ariella walked to the open door, her hips twitching slightly, the butt beneath the black silk nightie twitching. She stopped at the door. She looked at him. It's 3:30 in the morning, Lincoln. He didn't care. The rage still swirled inside him, desperate for an outlet, but something else pushed it down, muted it, softened it. That something else? Lust. Ariella held out one hand, red fingernails beckoning. Don't tell me I woke up for nothing, she said. Now get your ass over here. He did as he was told. Ariella took his hand and led him to her bedroom. So that's who Lincoln's been hooking up with. Not shacking up. Shacking up's a different thing. Voice a little fried. Don't know what's going on. It's maybe not too much sleep. I don't know what's going on. I'm on the tail end of a cold. Bow chicka wow wow, Rob says. Let's get rid of this. Get rid of that. Bring up the chat. A real girl. Come on up anytime you are ready. Yes, Kim. Ariella and Lincoln are knocking boots. Now, don't tell the rest of the Old Stone Church crew, please. They do not know. Or at least we think they do not know. Mike Werr says, Hola, amigos. All right. Checking through the chat. Yeah, Recluse Mage. Yeah, it could be a lot of smoke in the air affecting the voice. It's been pretty solid all of it. Like a couple hours ago, it started to kind of go south on me. Anyways. Ian says, about damn time, Link. That's great. Listen, Ariella's got it going on. And Link has been in the gym, y'all. He has been in the gym working out. He has lost, what did I say last episode? 20. Thanks, baby. He has lost 20 pounds. He was a little bit bloated. Let's just say he was a little bloated when book one started. All the booze and all the other things. Okay, let's get baby girl dialed in here. Let's go back to main. A-cam. Give me a second here, sweets. What's up, Daryl? I did not put that hat on, by the way, which was greatly appreciated because, you know, I'm superstitious. So I don't change any of my clothing with the Lions. And then the Lions lost, which really kind of sucked. So. Oh, yep. Sorry. Right here. Hit it, baby.
That's a lot better. Thank you. I hope you guys didn't hear me sneezing 50,000 times from downstairs because I did a lot of sneezing downstairs.
I heard it a little
Did you
bit,
hear
but I don't think it came across on the. I don't think it came across.
I couldn't do anything about it. I
You
tried
should
to
be good.
hide.
You should be good. Get your. Do you need your computer? You don't need your computer. All right,
I do kind of. I need to get set up here for things and stuff.
Mike Ware says, crazy to think how long we've been doing this now. He remembers episode 1. I'm delighted you remember episode 1. I actually mentioned that when you guys aren't here, I record the intro to the episode. Then we do the episode live, and then edits. And when the episode gets processed.
Yeah, I check it. Yeah. Gets
checked. And then, so the intro I did today was... Holy crap, we're 5 episodes into season 3. The older I get, the faster time seems to fly. It is crazy. I mean, before we know it,
nice to see you too.
Before we know it, we will be halfway through season 3, which is halfway through the series. Rob and I know exactly how it's going to end. It is spectacular. Haven't told A yet. Nobody gets to know except Rob and I. And Reese. Reese knows.
Well, and if sometimes Squeaky you put on the desk right here. So I imagine she reads along.
She has snuck a peek a few times. Yeah, totally.
Good to hear that you didn't hear me. I might sneeze some more. I don't know what happened.
If you guys didn't hear it, it's not on the mic. So great
terrific.
To go. Great to go. Real quick, we do some housekeeping really quick, y'all. Crypt Book 2 second draft is now about 72 to 73% done. We're working away on it, but I've had to rearrange some things at the end. I know my military advisors are waiting for the second draft to come in so they can give me their take, but not done yet. Sunday, January 26th, Slaybook 3, episode 80, Up in the Club went live in the podcast feed. Tuesday, January 28th, Deep Cuts, episode 35, NFL analogs for GFL players went live in the feed with the Super Bowl pending. If you haven't been listening to our fun Deep Cuts episodes in the feed, you can go check that out. If you were here last week and heard it live, that's cool. Sunday, February 2nd, tonight's Slay episode, Stray Rat Strut, episode 81, goes live in the feed. Tuesday, February... hold on. Saturday, February 2nd,
yeah,
Steve the Iceberg, Ricky Bergs. I think it's Saturday, right?
I think it's February 1st, though. Let me double check. Hey, at least you got it up there.
Bah.
Yeah, it's Saturday, February 1st.
Sat Feb 1 instead of Sat Feb 2. Anyways, Steve hosts for 7 hours? 4 hours? 7 hours.
Many hours.
It is an absolute endurance event. It is the enduro of live streams. And he is there. Come hang out. People come from all over the world. Drop in, drop out, chit chat, BYOB. Have yourself a very merry drinkage. And then Tuesday, February 4th, the thing we're about to talk about right now, Deep Cuts episode 36, Emergency Preparedness, goes live in the podcast feed. And Wednesday, February 5th, Slay Season 3 continues with episode 82. I don't have a title for that yet. And after, in Deep Cuts, we will imagine conversations between Scott and some of his creations.
Yeah, if you watch every week or listen every week, you know we were supposed to talk about that tonight. But the day after the last story so far, or story read and Deep Cuts, we were evacuated. And we figure it's probably worth talking about since it's recent for us. And we have been prepared for a really long time. So we want to talk that through in case you guys need some help getting a bug out bag together or
We're
something.
going to talk about that in 1 second. So if there's anything you'd like to hear us talk about on Deep Cuts, you can send that to info@emptyset.com. We've already had a couple episodes people have sent in. We love getting the ideas. If you are not signed up to the SMS list, text SIGTEXT, SIGTEXT, to 855-955-5095. And you know what? We send out alerts about things that are going on. Later, we're going to be sending out alerts about all the books that come out in 2025 and 2026. So that'll be great. Sign up for the newsletter, scottsigler.com/newsletter. The SMS list and the newsletter are the best ways to follow what's going on. Facebook squashes everything now. Threads is turning into a crap fest. Twitter, of course, abandoned Twitter a while ago. So every place you guys follow me on social media, the best place to know what's happening is scottsigler.com/newsletter. And I think that is it. And then once again, our sponsor for this month, I guess, something like that. Quince.com/Sigler.
Yeah, they make those candles that we got are so great.
Mm-hmm. They are lots of good stuff. All right, let's get rid of that ad. And now you ready to go, babe?
I am.
All right. Let me get the episode set up. Vamp.
I'm gonna vamp for a while. I have no idea what is making me sneeze, but every night.
Maybe what's making you sneeze is making me this lizard voice.
Maybe. I thought it was we had air quality warnings until Sunday morning at around 11 a.m. our time, and so I thought it was that, but I'm still sneezing, and it's Wednesday, and it's rained, and it can't be stuff in the air. So I don't know what it is, but as the sun goes down, I sneeze a lot.
As the sun goes down.
I know there's something called gustatory rhinitis, where sometimes when you eat something, your nose gets stuffed up. I don't know if there's something called like dusk rhinitis or something, but I might have it.
Okay.
Who knows?
We are recording. Let's get ready to roll. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You got your timer set? I guess
will.
since that episode took 45 minutes, I guess we should be succinct about this. We'll get it done. Ready?
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay, y'all, it's time for Deep Cuts. This is a bonus episode for the feed. We don't have any story content in this particular episode. You ready, doll?
I am.
Here we go. Goodness gracious, last week was a week. A wildfire evacuation right in the middle of the workday really puts a crimp on one's schedule.
I know, word count definitely took a hit last week. But we were loaded up and in the car 20 minutes after the first sign of smoke, which was smell. And that's almost a new land speed record.
How did we accomplish this Herculean feat?
I have a plan, and we stuck to it, and we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it right after this. So
Isn't...
No, we're going to talk about talk about it right after this quick break.
Okay.
Yep. Hit it. Yeah, just do the whole line.
I will. By having a plan and sticking to it. And we'll talk about it right after this quick break.
Great. And I'm going to tilt this up just a little bit. It's pretty good positioning. We might get a little bit more of you there. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices Fiction Podcast, where a sci-fi author and an audiobook narrator discuss things and stuff in the world of fiction and pop culture. I am Scott Sigler, sci-fi horror author known far and wide as the future Dark Overlord.
And I am A.B. Sigler, audiobook narrator and publisher at Empty Set Entertainment. And on this Deep Cuts, we're talking about emergency preparedness and our experience bugging out last week.
A reminder, this is a bonus episode. This is not part of any particular story, so if you just want the story stuff, you can skip it, but I think you should stick around because there's some good info here and some things that you might not have thought of that could save your life.
All right. Are you ready to get into it?
Let's go, babe.
See how we all can stay safe?
Let's go.
Okie doke, you guys. So last week, we had our normal work day on Wednesday, and then we woke up on Thursday morning. I wake up later than Scott does. Scott wakes up, walks the dogs, makes coffee, makes breakfast, whatever. Then I got up. He was having a little trouble getting into the writing that day. So I was like, hey, do you want to walk through the whole schedule today? And we can kind of choose it together. And we did that. And we put a schedule together that was going to work great. And we were both going to work until around 7:30 because if you don't know, in the United States, January for businesses, there's tax reporting requirements. So that's a me thing in January. And of course, Scott is writing Crypt Book 2. So that's a him thing. And we felt really, really good about it. And I walked the dogs around, 1:30 maybe?
Mm-hmm. I think that's right, yeah.
And in about 20 seconds, 3 things happened. I smelled smoke. I looked up and saw smoke very close to us, very close to us. And I got a text from the goddamn dog sitter, who you guys might know, Amy, who said, if you guys evacuate, come here, as planned. And then I texted Scott and ran home with the dogs. And 18 minutes later, we were out the door because there was a fire about 200.
Was it really 18 minutes? I got so much stuff. I got so tell them the distance of the fire, and I can show those pictures.
Yeah, so there was a fire about 250 feet as the crow flies from us, which was about 400 feet from like driving distance from our house.
Did
you find that? Yeah, if you can find those, that'll be fine.
I'm gonna get this right now.
I have lived in the house that we share since 2000. I have lived through 4 wildfires threatening this area and have never gotten a set evacuation, have never gotten anything like that. This is a photo that we that I took, that is our TV in our living room downstairs, and I took this as the set. So if you are unfamiliar with wildfires, I mentioned last week, an app called Watch Duty that's specific about wildfires, and it gives you you get a set evacuation order, which means get set, get ready to go. And then there's a go order. And I took this photo that you're seeing on the screen right now when the set order came in for us. And if you look, that is a woman reporting on the fire that evacuated us. And if you look right above her left shoulder, you'll see a tiny little bit of white. And that's our condo complex.
And that's Rose Canyon, right?
That is Rose Canyon in San Diego. Rose Canyon is very long and very broad, but this is the sort of the north end of Rose Canyon. And I have friends who went to UCSD in the 80s, and even in the 80s, we're worried that Rose Canyon nobody ever goes into Rose Canyon. It's a wildlife preserve. There's coyotes there. There's wolves there. There's bobcats there. There's all that there. So nobody ever goes in and cleans the wildfire or the detritus out of the bottom of the canyon. They did that last week because it caught fire.
Clear it right up. And then, so I get the notice from A, like, hey, there's a fire. And we get to work. A has done all of the organization. She's done all the go bag prep. This is something I used to do way back when for myself, and before A and I were shacking up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when you lived in San Francisco, it was your obligation.
We had a go bag. We had a strategy. I knew how to get the 2 dogs out. I knew exactly what was going to happen. And now A handles that, and I realized I had not come up with an evacuation plan for all of the fucking gear that we need to keep this business going.
This is one of the things we'll talk about today, the things that we missed.
Oh, should I wait to talk about that?
No, but we can talk about it now. But why we wanted to have this conversation with you today is because there were things that have been on my evacuation plan for 20 years and things that should have been that weren't. And this is one of them. So you had no plan for the gear.
I had no plan for the gear. So I started out, I grabbed a couple of bass guitars. Right. I have many of them. I got some I want to save. Put them in the car. Go bag was able to get the go bag out of the racks, get that in the car while A was doing other things. And then I realized, like, okay, well, it was very quick to pack the computer bag. My computer, iPad, all the stuff that's always in the computer bag, so it's always ready to go. That was easy. A got her computer bag. This is all happening in a couple of minutes. And I'm like, okay, what about the recording setup in the audiobook recording booth downstairs? Had to grab those pieces of gear.
That was missing from the plan.
Yep, missing from the plan. So I had to grab our Apollo interface, microphone, extra monitor, and that laptop. All those had to get packed up in the car, not organized at this point. And then I'm like, what about the upstairs rig, which is much bigger and a bigger part of our business? So I had to come up.
That's all this right here.
The writing PC, get the much bigger Apollo unit here, grab a microphone stand. So if everything burns down, we can still put out episodes and do the business. And like I say that, and I think some people might think, well, that's a silly thing to worry about. I'm like, we grabbed enough stuff that we can keep running our business as we're running it. Not as smooth, not as efficient, but you got to keep, fortunately, we have a job that will keep going even after the fire. So we had to grab all of that stuff and then had a little bit of time. So I grabbed 3 more bases.
Yeah. So there is a few things. Can you do me a favor while I'm talking? Can you go get the black mesh bag that's full of our prescription meds?
Yep.
So I'm going to start and let you guys know, if you have any potential evacuation need, if you live in a hurricane zone, if you live in a wildfire zone like we do, if you live in a tornado zone, a flooding zone, anything like that, there's so many options for reasons that you need a preparedness kit. And I'm going to specifically talk about the United States, but obviously every country has this. This is part of the requirement of the government for their citizenry to protect us in times of danger. Close that door behind us. So for us, several things exist all the time. Michael Moore in the YouTube chat room just mentioned data is worth more than equipment, and that is 100% true. So the first thing that we have happen every day is offsite backups. There's another, and I would recommend that for you for anything that's precious. And absolutely, if you run a business from your home, it's essential. Number two, any offsite backup of precious things. We live in a time where my baby photos could be scanned that my mother gave me 2 or 3 weeks ago. They haven't been yet, but I didn't need to grab a photo album anymore. I could just make sure those things are in the cloud. And that is true. That data will exist even if this house does not. All that said, I got home with the dogs. 18 minutes later, we were in the car. Scott did go and, like he said, grab a few more bass guitars. But I'm going to walk you through what we did and how we did that in 18 minutes, and then talk to you a little bit about what you may need in your go kit if you're somewhere not where it's wildfires, but it's tornadoes or flooding or hurricanes or whatever. So the first thing I'll say is the government in the United States at the moment at ready.gov/kit, ready.gov/kit will give you an emergency supply checklist. And you obviously do that. That's what Scott is about to show you. You do this when you're not in an emergent situation. You do this ahead of time and you check it quarterly.
And if I may say, if you guys should go look at this now, because there are governmental websites that share information to the taxpaying citizenry that are being shut down and are not being redirected or anything like that. So this, just in case, this would be a good thing to go look at right now, make notes on it. And that is at, oh shit, I have a fancy little graph for it. ready.gov/kit. Is that right?
Yes.
I have it right? Yes.
Yep, that's absolutely
Okay.
right. That's for the United States. Every country will have one. Almost every country that I thought to look at would have some. The basic kit that Scott is showing you on this ready.gov/kit list right now talks about a basic emergency kit. A basic emergency kit meets your emergent needs for 3 days. 3 days if you have to leave your house. So on that list is water, number one, clean water or something to have clean water with. We don't have a worry about clean water in San Diego because it's not a hurricane and it's not flooding.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wildfire. So we have about a dozen bottles of distilled water in our garage ready to grab and go. When this set order came, all the garage doors in our complex were open, many garage doors, I'll say, and I had many, many bottles of distilled water. And so every time I saw somebody go into the car, I was like, do you have water? And if they said no, we had already our water packed, which was 4 gallons of water for what we hoped was 1 day of evacuation. That's 1 gallon for every breathing thing that was in that vehicle. So each of the dogs and the 2 of us. And so I shared water because if my house was going to burn down, I didn't want to save my extra water. I wanted that to help people. So basic water and food needs for 3 days. For us, I wanted to share with you some of the things that I learned about our kit and would do differently the next time, or maybe the same the next time. For us, I packed a bunch of these. They're protein bars. We love Bear Bells. They're high protein, low cal protein bars, or lowish cals. But I will tell you, next time I would for sure absolutely just pack a chocolate bar.
Candy?
Because it's calories and it's soothing. And that is a thing that I didn't do. We left when we got the set order, which is a thing I'll talk about in a minute. We left before we had to leave because our entire business was loaded up in the car and it was safer to be away from here. But then we realized that they were addressing the fire, that it was very likely that we would get to come home sometime that night, if not the next morning. And it wasn't as tragic as some of our friends in LA experienced. What we missed was then we didn't know what to do and we were uncomfortable and we were trying to be really nice to each other and really patient with each other. And you know what? Eating candy would have been easier than figuring out how to just spend 4 hours out of the house, just parking at a park somewhere and eating
And
chocolate
Chris Grawl says in the chat room, always leave before you were ordered to, which is what we did. We had, as soon as the car was packed, and I admit, I broached the subject very gently because A has run the show. Everything's ready. We're ready to go out the door because of A. So I assume she has a plan. I'm like, do you think we should, everything's packed. Should we just go before the traffic? And she's like, well, I don't know. What do you think? I'm like, I think we should, you know what? Because I know the right answer is the second you're ready, GTFO, because if the traffic gets backed up, you're screwed. So we were able to get out the door and early.
So I will say the takeaways, and then we'll talk more specifics when we come back from a break in a few minutes.
Mhm.
The takeaways that I didn't know until we evacuated. Absolutely number one is the biggest thing I would do differently moving forward is leave once you're packed. If there are any evacuation orders or any threat to your home in close proximity, it took forever to move maybe 3/4 of a mile, if that. I mean, it literally took 45 minutes to move less than a mile. It was weird and hard because, of course, they're keeping you away from the fire, but also we live close to a college, and the college got evacuation orders, and they just put students and faculty and people on any shuttle bus and took them off campus, which meant that then there were just stray human beings wandering around kind of our neighborhood, also needing to figure out what to do from there. And so I would have left the first time he mentioned it instead of the third time he mentioned it, for sure. That's the biggest thing. And I also, our friend Tori Pond, who is probably in the chat room, she used to be a 911 dispatcher, and I thought about her, and I thought she would say, just get out of the way of people trying to help. Just get out of the way if you can. And that was it, and we left. We just bugged out. The second thing I would say is when you are doing that, if you're at the moment where you're like, our car is packed, we've got food, we've got medication, we've got the pets, we've got the precious things, we've got all of that in the car, and you're taking a moment to breathe, text yourself or your spouse or someone who is in the vehicle with you, if you can, a short little text about that you guys are safe, that you guys are leaving, because I was driving and a lot of people were reaching out to me, and I couldn't tell Scott, like, hey, go to my text to myself, grab that, copy and paste it, send it to your mom, send it to my friend Denise, send it to whoever, send it to whoever. I couldn't do that because I hadn't done that. I would do that almost immediately. We're safe, we're out, that's it. That way I can just say, go copy and paste that and send it to everybody who asks. The third thing, this is very important because I don't know what components you will be taking with you, but in your emergency plan, which wasn't in ours, make sure you and whoever is in your house or is ever evacuating with you knows what pieces of equipment and components you want to take with you. For us, I grabbed computers and Scott grabbed cords and monitors and things like that. And we weren't on the same page. So that meant he probably, if we were out of the house for, or we never came home, he could have got to work right away. And I would have had to go to the Apple store and buy things. So that is a problem we would do
Very important.
again. Yeah. And then the last thing I will say is if you don't have an emergency plan with the people you love, and I'm not talking about just the people you live with, I'm talking about people in your town, people who are friends, people who are church friends, clergymen, whoever it is, make sure you have a plan that allows you to leave if you're able to leave in whatever direction you're able to leave. We have a plan to go north and stay with people who love us and we love. Those are my parents. We have plans to go south. That's the dog sitters who we love. And we have plans to go directly east with other friends. And that's important because it's chaotic when that happens. When that happened, I got 4 texts before I got home with the dogs, and I was just walking them around the neighborhood. Again, in the few minutes it took us 18 minutes to be ready to go. And in the few minutes 1 minute I was walking home, I got 4 texts from people saying, come right here. But I had a plan with 2 of them.
Plan for locations.
And so you plan for locations, you plan to be able to say, hey, it's going to be a lot easier. For us, it was a lot easier to go east or north and not south, getting out of our neighborhood. And so we went east, and then we were going to go north if we needed to my parents' house, and we ended up not needing to do that. Now, we're going to take a very quick break. If you can, listen to the ads. That helps us out quite a bit. And when we come back, we're going to talk specifics about what was in our Go Kit, what I would add, and what I could recommend for you guys. We'll see you soon.
This site is, actually, I'll wait and talk about this. This is pretty impressive.
Yeah, ready.gov is terrific.
A lot going on.
Are you ready to come back in?
Yes. I'm sorry. I was being impressed by you. Here we go. Welcome back to Deep Cuts.
This episode, we're talking emergency preparedness and our experience bugging out last week. So now I'm going to talk specifics about what's in our kit and what should be in your kit and what else might be in your kit. Number one, easily, food and water for everything that needs to eat and drink that goes in your bug out vehicle, for sure. If you can do it for 3 days, that's terrific. If you can do it for 25 minutes, that's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. That means if you don't have any water bottles prepared to go like we have that we can just throw in the car, they're in the garage and they can be thrown in the car when we need to go, I would have filled up. I would have emptied the milk jug in our fridge and filled it with water. Some water is better than no water. So I would encourage you all to have a plan that includes destinations if you need to bug out, mm-hmm. food and water for everything that eats and drinks for 3 days, medications that you need. These are the medications that Scott and I take on a weekly basis. And they live all the time. I know that's noisy. Sorry, Steve. They live all the time in this mesh bag. When we need to fill our pill cases, we take them out of here. The reason for that is so that when we are about to bug out, we grab that and then we go. We absolutely have, stronger pain meds that might have been prescribed that we didn't get rid of, things like that. And all of that, if we had time, which we did, I also grabbed. But having the actual daily meds keeps us as healthy as we can be while we're dealing with all this other stuff. The second thing I would recommend, and this is a very, very hard one, if you can put cash in your go bag or have a stash of cash that you can take with you if you need it, and you don't need to use that money on a monthly basis, having small bills. We have 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s. And we don't have tons and tons of cash, but we have cash that just lives in the go bag, lives ready to go at any time, because if the whole region is burned, there's not going to be point of sale, little credit card swipies or things like that.
Right.
So that's essential. I know that's a difficult thing sometimes people can't really do. But once we go from there, there are things that you can do to help kind of maintain your connectivity. I mentioned that I would have texted myself a few lines. I also did, and I recommend you guys have and grab, if you're in a wildfire or hurricane zone where the power might go out, to prevent more damage. Tornadoes are another case. This is a hand crank radio, flashlight, charging device. It also has a USB so I can charge it ahead of time. I hadn't done that. I would do it in the future. It is charged currently, mm-hmm. but I hadn't done that. But you can charge it to do the very minimum that you need to do. So if your phone is completely out of power, a device like this multitasks. It's an emergency radio on the front. You can crank it up and charge enough to make a phone call, things like that. It helps keep you connected if there's the ability to be connected, if the cell towers are still there, and you can get a word out. That's very important.
That's why the chocolate bar is important. So you have enough calories to crank that little tiny motherfucker.
For sure.
That's for sure. Yep.
And there are many versions of this little thing. We actually have two. This is the smaller one. The other one, which I got a handful of years ago, is about the size of a shoebox, actually. Or a cigar box, actually. It's pretty big comparatively, but it does the same thing. It cranks to hold some stored power. It cranks to turn on the radio. This one also has a flashlight that I just crank that little bit and it works. Oh, no, I guess it's charged up. No, I lied about that. So that's very important. I would say if you're in a place where you might not have fresh water, they make things like this. This is not really important for us for wildfires, but it is kind of a personal water filter, and it lets you drink what might be brackish water, what might be infected, what might be runoff water that you're not sure if it has cooties in it or not. That not necessarily essential for us in California for wildfires, but wildly for flooding or hurricanes or things like that, where you might be walking through water and you will work a powerful thirst and then need some water. I will say, I'll share with you, we do have these. That you can buy these. This is a 3-day water and food supply for basic food supply for one human being. And we've got 2 of these in our stash downstairs. They don't live in our go bags because our go bags have they're more densely packed, and I go through them once a month. But this I could grab and go, and I'll show you some of this stuff. You can buy them on Amazon. They're easy and they're protected then. Emergency water comes like this. It's hard to break. It looks like a Capri Sun, but you can tear it open if you need to. Food is the same. I'm sure that's not going to be delicious, but it is going to keep you alive. I will also say it's quite essential to have a tiny portable first aid kit. We have fire extinguishers in the kitchen, fire extinguishers on both floors. We have first aid kits on both floors. We had first aid kits in the office when we had the office. But this lives in my go bag because this is specific to I'm doing things I don't normally do. So it has steri strips, it has antibiotic washes and ointments and betadine and iodine and all those things if I am in this place where I am no longer in my comfort zone and I need help. So I would recommend, again, you can buy a bug out kit made before they ever knew you existed for one human being for 3 days. And at the very minimum, I would add something like this. Okay, if you have time to add more things to your kit, there are a few things that I really like that are in both of our go bags. His is a lot bigger than mine because he's a stronger human being. But we all have all the things I just mentioned. We both have first aid kits. We both have water for a few days. We both have food for a few days. We both have a cutting utensil. His is this giant machete, and mine is a little retractable knife. But it's to cut through something if somebody's stuck or you need to clear brush or whatever. They live there. They never have been used. Hopefully they never will be used, but they're there if we need them. We have, there's a tool, there's a device that you can get for your car that does a handful of things. It taps a window to break it. It has a seatbelt cutter on it, and it's like a hammering sort of a weapon. I don't think to defend yourself, but if you need to hammer through something, it's got a point on it that will help you do that because it helps break windows. Those are in both of our go bags. I have handfuls of first aid medication. I have contact information for the people who love us so that I can hand it out and say, listen, we're going to keep going, but if you get to power, would you please email my mom and my brother and let them know that I'm okay, and his mom and his brother and let them know that we're okay. I have those things. Those are really, really, you have to be absolutely on top of your go bags for that. But our go bags both have emergency Mylar blankets. I'll show you that. I know it's a little noisy. Bear with me. They come very little, and they're packed like this. They're marathon blankets, things like that. That came in the one-person 3-day survival kit I just showed you, which you can buy at any retailer online or something very like it. Those are very useful. And then I would say the thing that I would do differently if I had more time, we spent a lot of time grabbing things we thought were precious to us. Like Scott said, he grabbed a few more bass guitars and things like that. I would also have gone and grabbed more entertaining things. I have now added this sounds crazy, but I've added a deck of playing cards to both go bags because you might not have power. You might not want to be jamming up the cell phone towers or who knows what. Maybe the cell phone tower is down and you can't do anything about that. And that way you can keep yourself occupied. Let's see, some of the things in the Dawn on foot, I would say definitely put together a go bag that has at the very least room for food and water for you, meds for you, and then this
first aid kit.
This hand crank thing, because this will allow you to power any cell phones or things like that if they're still in working order and get you help as soon as you can get it. And the other thing I would say if you're going on foot is, at least from our experience, is to I'd say follow the crowd, because we had literally hundreds of people in this neighborhood who had gotten evacuated from the university nearby. And they didn't know what to do because that plan wasn't communicated all the way down the food chain. So what everybody did was just follow the crowd of people who were essentially moving away from the wildfire that was very close to us. And it doesn't matter, some people's cars were close to the wildfire. Some people's houses were close to obviously our house was sort of close to the wildfire. And I will tell you, I never worried once about our house and what I would do if it was us getting safe, getting the pups safe, getting our neighbors safe, getting out of the area. And once I was out of the area, I worried a lot about all that stuff. And it was a rough couple of days for us because we didn't want to put everything away either, because it could happen again, that kind of thing. So all those mental games happened. My mental games with myself happened after we were safe. Then I worried about all of that. Just protect you and whatever animals you can take with you. Understand I have friends and friends of friends who had 3 or 4 animals and were part of some of the LA fires, and they got out with 2 or 3 of their animals because it's chaos and everything is chaotic at the moment, and you do the best you can.
Fire moves fast.
Yeah.
Earthquakes move faster than you move, so this is good.
I will also add, we have all of our essential documents scanned and on the cloud, which I know is not necessarily the truth for everybody, but there are still some precious documents. There is something called a fireproof case. If you own a fireproof case, I would like to share with you this tidbit I learned from fire folks when we were coming back in. A fireproof case is absolutely fireproof, and it will survive a fire that destroys concrete, that destroys wood, that destroys the structure of your home. The paper inside it is not fireproof at all. And it is very common for the fireproof case to survive, but the documents inside to be
cindered.
Ash.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely ash. So I didn't realize that. We have a fireproof case. It was in our van when we left. That was really surprising to me. So now we have our passport scanned, our legal documents scanned. I have a contact sheet that has our credit card phone numbers, our emergency contact numbers, all of those things in case I don't get out with any of that and I have to call and start over. I did throw in the few minutes that he was grabbing a few extra bass guitars, and this is unfortunate, but I'm going to share with you guys, I did throw all of our checkbooks. We each have a personal checkbook. I have a handbag. Scott has a wallet. Obviously, we had the handbag and the wallet, but I grabbed our business checkbook and both of our other checkbooks and put them in the car with us, not so that I would have a lot of checks to write if I needed to, but in case I couldn't get back, but the fire was out and looters came by, and looters could get in and steal that stuff and make it worse, I grabbed that stuff. So the biggest thing for us is we had a plan before the fire started that was maintaining personal safety, personal life-saving supplies for 3 days, normally called a go bag. I had plans, we have neighbors that we love, so we checked in on them. They chose to stay and wait out the evacuation order. And I think had the fire come up the hill, so it was down a hill from us. We're at the top of a canyon and it was at the bottom of a canyon. I'm not sure they could have gotten out since it took us so long to get out. So that's the thing I'll say. If there is an order to evacuate in your area, especially if you think you can walk to it, go before the actual order comes to you, because it'll be a lot easier to get out. And again, once the order hits your particular area, traffic's going to back up. Our roads, no matter how good they are not designed to handle that massive flood of traffic all at the same time. Things will get choked out. So if you think, what we did is we bugged out before our area got the evac call just to get ahead of it. And then we just drove away. We were gone for 4 or 5 hours and let the first responders do what they do. And we were not part of the problem because we were gone. Now,
We have a minivan, so we were able to fit a lot of stuff, and that's why I brought more base. I'm like, well, shit, we got more room. We haven't got the evac order yet. I might as well go grab these things. But yes, that was very helpful.
And post-pandemic world is super helpful because it's also we're wildfire. So there are N95 masks and gaiters and eye drops and all that stuff in our go bag because smoke is a problem. But that's a super easy thing for anyone to add to their emergency kit just in case. And it's obviously only going to help with particulate matter in the air. But for us, that was quite significant. And so I would add that. But the basic things are know what things you're not willing to live without. My friend Stephanie was threatened by the border fire in San Diego. She never got an evacuation order, but got ready. And for her, one of the things she realized is she does have a very personal and precious to her memento from her wedding that she would have been sad to lose. So when she was preparing for doing that, it's just a little commemorative plate, but she realized she needed to add that to her go bag because she would really have felt lost. Like it would have been a big loss, and it was a small, easy thing to add. So that is one of the things that I would recommend. Now, I will tell you guys, if you live on social media like I do, if you've heard I think TikTok advertises it every 5 seconds, there's some sort of essentials book. I would not recommend a hardcover book to prepare you for bugging out in case of a bug out. I would recommend you Googling in your town, if I have an emergency, what do I do? Because we live a little more than a mile from the ocean, but we're also over 1,500 feet up from the ocean. So tsunamis, not a problem for us, not going to affect us. That wouldn't be part of our escape plan. So instead of relying on like one book, even though read all of everything you can get your hands on to be more prepared, Google what to do to prepare for your zip code, because those are the things that for us will add masks, will add extra water because wildfires are dry the air and all that other stuff, and you will get dehydrated from all of that stuff as well. I will also say that almost all first aid kits have a little bit of smelling salts, but I would recommend adding a handful of salt packets or sugar packets because that is very easy electrolytes if you need it in case you get unbalanced and dehydrated. And not all of them have it. The wildfire kits do. I'm not sure that the hurricane or tornado or basic emergency preparedness would.
Mm-hmm. What else? Anything else? Or does that pretty much sum it up? There's
I think that's
a
kind
lot,
of it.
An enormous amount to cover right off the bat. I was pretty impressed with the site, ready.gov kit. Again, go look at it now rather than later. There's already discussions of getting rid of FEMA, and the FEMA app is one of the methods the government has used to communicate with people in times of emergency. We don't know if that's going to be there. That might go away.
Oh,
and if it does go away, we don't know that there will be anything else to replace it at this particular time.
And I will say ready.gov is FEMA. That is the FEMA site. I mean, I'm sure you can go to FEMA.com too, but ready.gov is run and operated by FEMA. So I strongly recommend that.
Go look now, download all the PDFs, at least get them down on your computer. They may not be the perfect answer, but it's probably better than what you got going on right now. Like, there's a couple guys in the chat who are way more prepared than we are. But most of you probably, like you've thought about, I need to get on this stuff. I know I need to do it, but the dog is sick and I got to pick the kid up and work is really stressful right now, which is me. Work is really stressful. I'm not participating in a lot of this. Make some time, go get that link. Go through the whole thing, download all the stuff.
Do you have that one picture of us that I took in the car?
No, I did not
with
put
the
that
dogs?
in.
You didn't put it in. Okay.
I put the dog picture in there. But,
yeah, that's the one.
Oh, I can get that.
Yeah,
Hold on.
So I will add just two more things. The one thing I haven't mentioned here, but absolutely should be in your go bag and just live in your go bag is clothes. This is us having parked 5 miles from home, just sitting, waiting everything out. And it's important to note, you can't quite tell, but we have a minivan. So all that stuff was just, you see the dogs in the back, but all the passenger seat there, passenger area there was just loaded up with guitar cases. And behind those
That's a guitar case right in front of Reese right there.
Yeah.
So.
And Reese also, the day before, the day that we had our last Ziegler in place, had 3 teeth extracted. So she is so stoned in this photo. She's so stoned in this photo. And I think she probably was thinking to herself, like, what is happening? What is this trip?
Yeah,
this
that's
is
right.
crazy.
She was stoned to the gills.
This is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that is what I think I would say.
Cool. Very good. Well, that is our tip for you for the week. I think we're getting the hell out of here, right?
Yeah. Remember, clothing, personal hygiene things, those should be in your go bag, or you should grab them when you go because you're definitely going to want to brush your teeth.
So that is it for this episode of Deep Cuts.
Next episode, we will have Scott have imagined conversations with some of his characters. If you have anything you would like Scott to talk to PJ Colding about or vice versa, or something like that, please email info@emptyset.
You're allowed to send in questions that Perry Dawsey would ask, not about his Jimmy bag. And also, of course, John Tweedy questions, whatever you want. Send them in and send them to info@emptyset.com. A will do her best to work that into next week's script, and I think it's going to be very, very fun.
And we are very, very happy to be home safe. It did take us about 2.5 days to...
I was still putting stuff together today.
Yeah, for sure.
18 minutes to get out of here and like 9 to 12 hours to put everything back together.
3 days to get back to normal.
Crazy.
And the house is still trash because there was so much particulate in the air. Everything is dirty. But that doesn't matter because everybody's safe.
That is it for us. We will talk to you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Thank you guys so much. I'm sure we missed some things, but we were just kind of talking about our experience.
Bam.
So if you guys have specific questions about bugging out or go bags or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm not sure that we're experts in any way, shape, or form, but I can tell you what worked.
We're probably just going to send you a link.
And I can tell you what worked for us and what didn't, and what we might never do again. I think I would spend a little less time on some things and a lot more time on a few other things that I've had. So,
yeah.
Anyhow, very nice to talk to you. Hope you guys come back and see us next week.
Let's switch over to the money cam. There we go. Because I can do this, and then I can say goodbye like this. Here we go. All right, guys.